to the Dropping Dimes podcast. And here's your host, J.I.
Yes, sir. Welcome back to the Dropping Dimes podcast. This is now our 11th episode. Many thanks, of course, to our sponsors, Yoe&Yes, Love and Inspire, and of course, Snuggle Moments PH. The snuggle is real. So for today's episode, we have some news, of course, around the association. We have news on MJ, Hakeem the Dream Olajuwon. We also have some news on Pat Riley, John Wall, some draft news again, and of course some league news, some important league news on when the season will probably start and how many games we can expect from the upcoming season. So that is what's coming up on this episode. So let's kick off the episode with some news on Hakeem the Dream Olajuwon, as he said that MJ is actually a far more superior player than LeBron. So that's according to CNBC. Hakeem told CNBC that it's always been Jordan for him, and apparently his opinion won't change when it comes to this debate on who is the most superior player he ever faced. So when, according to Hakeem, quote, when people start comparing him with Jordan, then that's not a fair comparison. Jordan was a far more superior player in a very tough league, and he was very creative. That's not taking away anything from LeBron because he's a great player, but it is not a fair comparison because Jordan is a far more superior player, end quote. Okay, so that's the Dream's take when it comes to the GOAT debate. Now, in some other news, we also have some news on John Wall. It's really good to see John Wall. This is posted by ESPN on Twitter. John Wall working out with Nets players Kyrie Irving, Caris LeVert, Spencer Dinwiddie, and DeAndre Jordan. Of course, John Wall hasn't played in a long time. Some analysts actually consider John Wall's contract as probably the worst case scenario for that max contract. But then I'm just happy to actually see him playing again. You know, John Wall has a lot of things to prove. It seems like from this video, he's moving well. And let's hope. I really hope he will be able to bounce back well this coming season. I just hope he stays healthy. You know, that Achilles injury was very tough, you know, and of course let's hope it wouldn't really take away too much of his explosiveness as well. So good luck to John Wall, hoping for a massive and, you know, super comeback from him. Now let's go to some league news. So as mentioned also in the previous episode, right now we're not really sure when the season will start, right? But then seems like they're trying to target, because this is according to The Athletic. So the news reported by Shams Charania that the NBA is targeting a 72-game season that actually begins on December 22 has everyone scrambling. Because you have to remember, the draft is scheduled on November 18th, so that's just like a month and 4 days after the draft. Because it's a dramatic reversal of a trend in which the target date for starting the 2020-21 season steadily slipped backward. So until this week, the working assumption from league insiders was that the season might not begin play until mid-January or even later. So under that model, the 2020-2021 season could drag deep into the summer before declaring a champion. That is according again to John Hollinger of The Athletic. So right now we don't really know. In addition to what John Hollinger was saying, it is also important to take note that the Players Association would also have to agree with the NBA on any proposed season format. Okay, so that is, of course, we all want basketball to be back, but then there are a lot of things that have to be agreed upon first before the season can proceed. Now, of course, there's a trending video on Michael Jordan, on MJ, his interview, right? And according to that interview, MJ said that if you ask 20 years from now, I'm pretty sure LeBron James may beat me. Of course, the context that Michael was coming from was the fact that he believes that, of course, it depends also on the people who saw you play. So most of these analysts right now, they were the ones who really witnessed MJ play, MJ dominate the NBA. And so it's also expected that he gets the respect that he's getting as the GOAT. But then, of course, in MJ's view, 20 years from now, when, the people who saw LeBron dominate the NBA and then will have far more appreciation by that time for what he has done, then maybe, just maybe, LeBron may already beat him when it comes to the GOAT debate. Okay, so that's MJ's point of view when it comes to that. Now, we also have some news on Kevin Seraphin. Seraphin was the 17th pick of the 2010 NBA draft. He played for Washington, New York, and Indiana. He has already announced that he is retiring from professional basketball. Okay, he hasn't been in the league. He's been playing in Europe. But then because of knee injuries, he has decided to retire at the age of 30. Then in some news, of course, this was the controversial Pat Riley news, because according to Pat Riley, he has all the respect for the Lakers, but then for him, it would always have an asterisk. Okay, because of the way things turned out last season. Well, that's Pat Riley's opinion. What is my take on that? First, it's kind of, I have mad respect for Pat Riley, but then would he really still say this if, let's say, they ended up winning the championship? Would he come out and say that, our championship will have an asterisk that we cannot avoid? Of course, this might be coming also from the fact that, of course, they lost in the finals, and it was against LeBron, and we know that even if they keep on denying it, there's a lot of beef there between Pat Riley and LeBron James. So So we don't know. It was probably because of that. Pat Riley being a very, very competitive person ever since his Kentucky days, right? So he's always been a very competitive guy, and he probably said that because of the fact that they lost in the finals, right? Because I would always think of it this way: what if the Miami Heat ended up winning the championship in the bubble, right? Would he still come out and say that it is, yes, that our championship is an asterisk, or will always have an asterisk attached to it? I don't think so, right? So I think it's just a product of that. Pat Riley being Pat Riley, being a very, very competitive person as always. I don't think it's a big deal though, right? And now, in some news regarding some draft news, this is according to Rick Kamla and Antonio Daniels. So they actually explained why James Wiseman should be the clear pick at number 2 for the Warriors. But then, of course, yesterday, according to some news outlets, the Warriors are actually very interested in drafting a wing, okay, a wing player, rather than getting James Wiseman. Okay, now some good news as well. Nikola the Joker Jokic has tied the knot. Okay, so congratulations to the newlyweds. Okay, Jokic. I think he may not have gotten the championship ring, but I'm sure he's pretty happy with the ring that he got after. So congratulations to Nikola Jokic. And then in some other news, we have some news on the Clippers. We know that Tyronn Lue is now the new coach of the Clippers. And according to Tyronn Lue, talking to Rachel Nichols of ESPN's The Jump, quote, we just gotta make it a great environment and we have to win, end quote. That's according to Tyronn Lue, stating it as simple as that. And he also added that he thinks Kawhi and PG are gonna stay for a long time, right? I think in their situation and where they want to be, it's here with the Clippers. Well, we don't really know about that though. Of course, Tyronn Lue trying to win his superstars back. Of course, right now things aren't probably that good because of the way they lost. So trying to, build some camaraderie there by showing that it's gonna work. A lot of people are saying that Paul George must be traded, that he is the problem. But I think it's also unfair, right? I mean, I'm not trying to defend the Clippers here, but we don't. I mean, for a very dysfunctional, if it was really true that it was so dysfunctional, man, they were a pretty good team for a dysfunctional team, right? So if Tyronn Lue can actually make it work, then he will really have and he practically has a championship contending team, right? But of course, it also depends on Paul George. I think the reason why people are calling out Paul George is because he has historically been shrinking in the big moments. And look, Paul George is a baller. When he broke his leg in 2000, was that 2014 during Team USA scrimmage? A lot of people were saying he's done, but he came back and he came back better. Now, if Paul George struggled or has struggled in the playoffs, then it's up to Paul George to prove to people that he is better than that. And I think the Clippers honestly should give him that chance. Give him that chance to prove that. Right? Because I don't see anyone, I don't see it. I don't see that, trading him all of a sudden will be the solution. What I do feel is they need practically a guy who can, run the show when things are not going well. They need a leader out there. Kawhi is a great player, but we have to remember that when he won a championship with the Raptors, Kyle Lowry was the leader of that team. Right? Mark Gasol was a very vocal leader of that team as well. So Kawhi didn't really have that responsibility to be the leader for the Raptors, which he had to be for the Clippers, and it kind of that lack of leadership kind of got exposed, right, during that Denver series. So what I think that's what they need. They need a guy that who can pacify the team when things are not like going well. Someone who can control and be the glue guy out there. I think that's what they need, so that Kawhi can just simply do his thing as well. Okay, so that's it for our Around the Association and news regarding the NBA. Of course, it's also interesting to talk about the 2K ratings. We posted this on Instagram and also on Facebook. It's interesting to see how LeBron, at year 17 gets a 98. And then Jimmy Butler gets his respect as well with a 93. I just have two comments though. Well, of course, this happens every year with the 2K and the 2K ratings, etc. I just feel like I think Jamal Murray at 87 and Devin Booker getting an 88. I think that's kind of like, the way those two guys played. I mean, if you're going to give Jimmy Butler a 93 after an epic playoff run, you also have to give some respect to Jamal Murray, who was one of the best players in the bubble, right? Like 50-point games. He was literally unstoppable during the playoffs. So 87, come on, man. I mean, he's better than that. And then also with Devin Booker. Devin Booker was also balling. They were undefeated in the bubble. I just think that the 88 may be kind of too low. Maybe a little. Maybe those two guys deserve to get higher ratings than that. Especially if a guy like, let's say, I'm not comparing, let's say, Booker and Klay Thompson. Klay Thompson is a 3-time champion. But Klay is also coming back from an injury, right? And he got an 89. So, why not give these guys the ratings that they deserve? But of course, 2K, they love that. They love, how players react to their ratings, etc. That's their style. All I'm saying is that maybe, just maybe, they probably should have given those two guys higher ratings, right? And excited. I'm really excited for the next generation. The graphics look good. I hope it's not gonna be As you know, we all know the history, right? Sometimes when it kind of starts problematic, when especially when there's a shift to a new console or to the next gen, but still, very excited for the next gen. I think it will be coming out on November, right? The PS5. So excited for that. So of course, many thanks also to our. By the way, for those who are listening, we now have a YouTube channel. Just search Dropping Dimes Podcast by J.I. Dimes. Episodes 1 to 10 are already there. I already uploaded it there, so you can also catch the podcast on YouTube. I really hope you can like, comment, and subscribe and click on the bell notification. And then, of course, I also hope you can like our Facebook page and follow our Instagram page as well. Special shout outs too. For today's special shout outs, of course, I want to thank Professor Arvin Alimboyao, a guy with a very, very high basketball IQ as well. Very high IQ in math, but a very high IQ in basketball as well. Shout out. Thank you, sir, for supporting the podcast. And then, of course, the guy behind T-shirt Printing Manila and Quago. Many, many thanks to Sir Banjo Hoson, another guy who super talented artist, super talented singer. When you want your anything regarding T-shirt designs or whatever, they are. He and his wife, Mom Mew, they're the best, right? So special shout outs to them for supporting the podcast. Okay, so that's it for our special shout outs for today's episode. Many thanks again, of course, to Yoe&Yes. And of course, the Snuggle Moments PH, the snuggle is real, for sponsoring this episode. So with that, we'll see you on the next episode of the Dropping Dimes Podcast. See you guys again. This is the Dropping Dimes Podcast.